Did it. Spanish reading and listening. And I think that's it. Yeah. So it's a busy week.
That's good. Yeah. I bet you're glad that week's over though.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your hardest exam been so far then?
Hardest exam to prepare for, and the one I was most stressed about, was English Lit Paper 2. But I think that was probably one of the ones that went the best.
Oh, that's good.
And then one of the hardest was probably maths or chemistry.
Yeah.
I think they went okay, but they just weren't amazing.
Yeah, no, I had that with my exams. I didn't think they'd gone very well, and it turns out sometimes they do go quite well, so you never know, you have to see. So what's the hardest thing that you've found about actually doing your exams?
I think just all the content that you have to know. So I know most people have just been doing it as if you've got an exam the next day, so you'll only revise that subject the night before.
Yeah.
But then when it came to English Lit Paper 2, there was 15 poems and your set text and unseen poetry, so there was a lot to revise in one night, obviously, if you were going over it all again. And especially when you're doing so many exams, you forget so much content for the other exams, then you have to re-go over it all, and it's just stressful to try and remember everything. But it's good when you've got a weekend and you can revise, and obviously half term is going to help a lot with revision and stuff. Yeah,
definitely. What would you say to someone who's younger that hasn't done GCSEs yet? What would you say about, given what you've experienced so far, what advice would you give?
I'd say they're not as scary as everybody thinks that they are.
Yeah.
And I always had this idea from year 7 all the way up to about even year 11 that GCSEs were really scary and they were going to feel like you're doing GCSEs. But when you're doing GCSEs, you don't feel like you're doing GCSEs. I just feel like I'm sitting just normal mocks and exams, and I think that probably because my school's prepared me a lot. I've had so many mocks and so many exams and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd say just don't stress about them and try and revise the content earlier. Try and start from maybe midway through year 10, not revising constantly, but say if you come to the end of a topic in science, then make a mark up on that topic, because it really just helps with revision in year 11.
Yeah, definitely. I found exams I honestly thought, because how much people hype them up, I thought it's going to be really, really hard, but don't get me wrong, they are hard, but as you said, they're not as scary as everyone thinks they're going to be, and you will get through it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So we've got some comments in. Ella Martin is saying her hardest exam was biology paper 1 last week. Yeah, and then English paper 1 and 2 went the best, she said, so that's good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought English went really well. They were probably 2 of my strongest exams. And then the biology one, apparently the combined paper was a lot harder than the triple, but I did the triple and found it quite okay and accessible, but apparently the combined one was really hard.
Yeah, I did double science, so I only did 1 paper for every exam, but yeah, I found science very hard.
Yeah.
Abdallah says, I found all the tests extremely easy as I started revising in year 9 consistently for 6 hours per day. Well, that's really good.
Wow.
Goodness me. You must be really, really motivated, and I praise you for that. That's great. Harry says, I was so stressed before opening the Lit Paper 2, but don't you think the Blood Brothers questions were amazing? Well, I know, Olivia, you did Blood Brothers, didn't you?
Yeah, so I was the only person in my whole year at school that did Blood Brothers, because we were all taught Inspector Calls, which was the one that we were meant to answer, but because I'd studied Blood Brothers for drama, and I also knew the whole soundtrack, because obviously I'm into musical theatre, and all the quotes are in the soundtrack, and so my English teacher gave me loads of resources to study it myself. So then when it came to the exam, I think the question I answered was on the importance of money, which was just the best question because it literally covered all the themes, all the characters. But I was definitely so stressed out before that English Lit Paper 2 exam. But then as soon as you see the poem and you see the question, then you kind of feel a lot better because it's not like you understand what they're going to ask you.
Yeah, definitely. Nabila says, damn, that physics paper wasn't the best. I did the triple higher.
The triple higher was basically a maths paper too.
Oh,
it was basically a maths paper with a calculator.
Oh yes, I
there was
heard
a
about
lot
that.
of physics on it, but there wasn't like a great deal on it.
Goodness me, I wouldn't have liked that then.
There was like so many like 5 mark like equation questions and like convert and everything, and it was just weird.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Ella Martin says, I had business vocational this afternoon. Not many people know that it's an exam, as I'm the first class of that course. We're doing the first exam. Oh wow. Yeah, a lot of people had business today. Oof. Yeah, no, I didn't get the option to do business at my school. I don't know about you, Olivia.
We only really get like the typical GCSEs, like we don't get the option like things like media studies as well.
Yeah.
If media studies was an option, I would have probably taken something like that, but we didn't get media studies, we didn't get dance.
Yeah.
There was a few other ones that we didn't get, but
we didn't get the option of doing ICT either, or PE. And we were, yeah, and we had to French for us was compulsory, and if you wanted to do a different language like Spanish or German, you had to take 2 languages. But they changed it for the year below us, which I was very annoyed about, but yeah. Yeah, a lot of people saying they didn't like English, found it the worst, and they went blank in the poetry. How did you find the poetry, Olivia?
So the poem that we were given, because I do love relationships, was Winter Swans. And so I knew that poem because I've learned, my teacher a few months ago gave us a grade 9 example of Winter Swans and loves philosophy.
Yeah.
And I've remembered that off by heart, and it was probably one of the only, I knew 4 poems, I knew all of them like vaguely, but I only knew 4 poems really well. And Winter Swans came up, and obviously because I knew that whole essay that she'd given us, such a sigh of relief, because I literally rewrote it.
Oh, that's so good.
And then the unseen poetry I thought was really good, because it was just really, I personally thought it was just really obvious. And then, I mean, the comparison unseen poem was a bit like weird in a way, because it didn't really make sense, the poem, but I think it went okay, and hopefully I got a good grade and stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
But I think it's like, if you don't know the poem, it's really hard to kind of blag your way through an exam.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
In an exam, you can like blag your way through it and just talk about God, but in an English exam, if you don't know it, then you're kind of stuck on what to write.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Olivia. It's been a pleasure to talk to you as per usual. So,
You
bye.
too. Bye.
Bye. So, hi Jade. Jade says you'll be get your questions in because she'll be joining shortly. Yep. So I'll be talking to Jade after about A levels. Nabila says, how do you think I should deal with the after exam sadness? Definitely try not to think about that exam. I just got home and I rested. And you've got to be proud of everything you've achieved that year. If you think about it, if it's a subject like maths that you've been studying since you're in primary school and you're not going to take it ever again, think of everything you've achieved up to that point. You've honestly done so much work and you've put so much effort in. So definitely think about that rather than the fact that you're sad that it maybe didn't go as well. So as you can see, everyone, Jade is here.
Hello.
How are you, Jade? How are your exams going?
I'm alright, thanks. Not too bad. Yeah, they're going alright, I guess. Yeah.
That's good. What have you had so far?
So I began on Monday with physics paper 1, which was a hefty paper, but the easier one. And then today I had physics paper 2, which has less sections in it, but they're much more difficult, and I found today a lot more difficult than Monday.
Yeah, you found that it's going all right though. You got it under control.
Yeah, they were weird. Like, I came out of the first exam on Monday and I had no clue how it went, because it wasn't awful, but it was a weird paper, so I can't really gauge how well I've done, and
Yeah.
I guess I'll just have to wait till August, because it was a weird paper. But
Yeah. What have you found harder what have you found compared from GCSE to A level? Have you found that it's a big step up? What have you found that's harder about it?
Yeah, it's a massive step up, definitely. I think GCSEs, there's a set syllabus and you've got like a nice little textbook to go with it, and if you just basically memorize what's in the textbook, you're going to get a good grade. But with A levels, there's so many different elements to it, and you have to have kind of a natural ability at the subject to even begin being able to do the subject. So yeah.
We're getting some questions in. Max says, what is your best tip for revising?
My best tip for revising, considering I've just started revising loads again because it's exam season, I would say just to do it in short bursts. And actually, what I have been saying is to do the whole 20 minutes and then 5 minutes break. But I found what's more useful is to just sit down, do a section, and then when you feel yourself losing focus, just stop. Because I found that sometimes I'm able to do half an hour and then lose focus. Other times I do 10 minutes and I lose focus. So just listen to what your brain's telling you. That would be my top tip.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. And I'd say because I always find it difficult to stay motivated, and I think that is a really good way of doing it. I've got this app on my phone. I don't know if you've used it, but I can't remember the name of it. But it basically, I can time myself for half an hour to revise, and then it will time my break for me. So I find that really useful. So definitely look into it.
I haven't got that, but it sounds useful.
Yeah, it is very useful. Someone says, how do you stay motivated for the next exam for the same subject? It's so hard to keep up motivation, but I need to save my grade for subjects like science and maths with the second papers.
That's a good question, actually. I think just to keep the motivation, obviously you've done one paper, you've got it out the way, you still need to retain that knowledge. So instead of going as hard as you did for the first paper, maybe think about what you found difficult in it, if the stuff that's going to be in the next paper will be the same. Obviously, if the next paper has different elements of the course in it, then revise those new parts, but just kind of think what you found difficult or what completely blanked in your brain, and then go over those specific sections and just take it small bit by bit instead of trying to do the whole course again for the next exam.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. What subject are you finding the hardest to revise?
Currently maths, because, well, it's quite sad actually, but I'll just at the point now where I should be doing past papers.
Yeah.
But when I try to do one, I can't do a single question, and it's so frustrating. And so I'm in that difficult stage where I'm deliberating whether I should go and redo notes, which for maths isn't really helpful, because obviously practice questions are the best form of revision for maths.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you can't even do the practice questions, then you're a little bit stuck, and that's kind of where I am at the moment. So I'm just going to have to look over everything we've done, maybe watch some videos on YouTube, something like that, just to get myself into it, because it's really demoralising when you can't do anything. So
yeah, I definitely say that.
Yeah.
Hearing you say that has made me think, I'm revising for year 12 exams that I've got next week, and I literally have no motivation. Cool. So I think definitely a tip that I've just learned is if you're not motivated, you've got to ask yourself why, and maybe switch up the way you're revising.
Yeah, just literally change it around. That's the thing. If you pinpoint what's stopping you from revising and kind of just push yourself to do that, then I guess that's the key.
Yeah. I think, definitely because I sort of resigned myself to the fact, I'm just someone that's not very motivated about revision, but I've found that when I've done different things like watching videos, getting someone to test me, using like voice memos to like record stuff and to listen back to it to learn it, I definitely think that like switching up the way you revise and making sure that your revision is like you do regular breaks and stuff, I think that's really helped me, definitely. Nabila says, did you have a career path in mind in year 11 and have you stuck to it?
I have not. My career path in year 11 was that I was going to do drama, and I loved drama. I was going to, the usual dream of being an actress.
Yeah.
But then I started doing quite well academically, and I had to weigh up whether I wanted to carry on drama, which was becoming more and more difficult, like due to other commitments in life and during the week. And then, so in year 12, I was completely stuck. Like, I'd chosen my A-level subjects, physics, maths, RS, a random bunch. And I don't especially know why I chose them, because I knew that in later life I didn't want to do physics or maths. But now I'm on the more, I want to do sociology, criminology, which were subjects I hadn't even heard of until sixth form. So year 11, you don't need to know what you're doing at all, but it's always good to have something in mind to direct you, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in year 11, I really wanted to be a teacher, and I sort of had that up until like beginning of year 12. I was convinced I was going to be a teacher, and then I know they always put loads of things on at school, like careers shows, and you always go to them thinking, I know exactly what I want to do. But I actually went to one recently, and I spoke to a few unis, and it got me really interested in social work. So I definitely like completely changed my mind. So and I don't even really know why I picked my A-levels either. I picked drama because I thought it was my best subject and I really enjoyed it. I picked psychology because I needed that to be a social worker, and I always wanted that option because I was doing a bit of like researching about it, and I thought, that would be quite interesting, maybe I could do something in that. And then I picked RS because, to be quite honest, I didn't really know what else I could do.
No, it's a good subject.
Yeah. Are you finding that quite difficult to revise?
I have to say, RS is probably the easiest out of the three. I think just because I more naturally am able to learn when I'm making notes, and for RS, all you can do really is make notes. So other than maybe doing essay plans, which are easy enough to do in 5 minutes, I think RS is definitely the easiest to revise at the moment.
Yeah. I think it's quite for year 12, from where I'm sat, I've just finished my ethics course. I'm almost finished my philosophy course. It's quite like, this is so different for GCSE. So
it's so different. It is really different, but I think I like the way that it's split into 3 clear sections, because then you can revise each section for each exam, whereas in GCSE a lot of it was all mixed up. So yeah.
Definitely. Ella says, I'm happy it's half term. I had an exam today and I got to wear mufti.
No way.
I'd have loved that.
Me too.
I found it really hard to concentrate during exams, so I think that'd be so good. I
wouldn't feel like I was properly at school though. I'd probably get a bit, I wouldn't focus properly.
Yeah, and you always get those people that will come in like really, really smart, and for example, I just want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Jed says hi. Hi, Jed.
Hello.
If you're just tuning in, this is Jade, and she's currently doing her A-levels. She's year 13.
Hello.
And she's doing RS, maths, and physics. And make sure you also check out our reaction team videos. There's also A-level ones up too, so definitely make sure you check those out. Sims Co-op Awesome says, how do you pick your A-levels?
Well, I should remember. I think it was just, when was it? It was before we'd taken our GCSEs, I think. And my method of choosing my A levels, which maybe in hindsight wasn't the best method, but you can decide, was I chose subjects that I was comfortable with and knew I was good at GCSE. So the 3 subjects I take now, I found really easy at GCSE, and I think I was mistaken in thinking the A level would be the same. So maybe take that as don't do that. My top tip for choosing A levels, looking back, would be just to choose a subject that interests you, even if you've never done it before. If it sounds interesting and you think there's a spark of enthusiasm for it, then go for it, and then you can change if you don't like it in the first term.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can always change your mind. I think at results day, I was convinced that I was doing German, English and RS. And I'm not doing German, I'm not doing English, I'm doing RS, psychology and drama. So you've always got time to change. And I think definitely if you get a better result in one subject, even if you found it quite hard, that maybe influence your decision. But I definitely, like Jade said, base it on what you enjoy, and you're going to have to be doing these subjects for 2 years at sixth form or at college. So definitely think, what do I want to do in the future, and what's going to make me want to come into school, what's going to make me feel motivated. You don't want to be sat in a lesson for a couple of times a week thinking, oh, why have I done this, what's the point in coming here? You need to feel motivated. Caitlin says, how much harder are A levels to GCSEs?
Ooh, well, it varies for everyone, because personally I have found A levels a lot harder just because I was really good at memorising stuff and just knowing the textbook definition for things. But then I know other people who found A levels so much easier, people who struggled with GCSEs because they weren't good at memorising things, but then they took subjects such as English and history where it's very subjective, and they were really good at getting their opinion across in essays, which in GCSE you don't get the chance to do. So yeah, I think it just depends on the kind of person you are, really. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. I think there's some people that like really enjoy the sort of the different the fact they're doing loads of different subjects, but I think definitely it's less content at GCSE per subject, because obviously you've got so many, but at A levels it's very much very different. It's quite intense, but I'd definitely say there are some people that I've spoken to, they're like, oh, A levels are much easier because I'm really enjoying my subjects, and if that's you, then that's great. But I definitely say they're definitely a lot harder. Jed says, I want to take history, English literature, politics and psychology. Is it too much? Well, there's a lot of people that are doing like IB, so they have loads more subjects than that. So I don't. It's whatever works for you. What would you say, Jade?
So how many is that? That's 4.
4,
I think a lot of people do take 4, and obviously you don't need 4 if we're talking about A levels here. So you don't need 4 A levels, and so if you found it too much, I'm sure you'd be able to drop one.
Exactly.
So I think just go for it and see which ones you enjoy the most, and if you're capable of doing all 4, then all the better, really.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been speaking to some year 11s that have been really struggling to pick their A levels because they're quite maybe academic people, or they really, really enjoy school and they really enjoy their subjects, and they're like, oh, I've got like 4 that I really like and I don't really want to give up any of them. So if that's you, you've really got to think, what is going to be the best for me? Is it going to be too much work? And just do what you want to do. I want to take maths, further maths, chemistry and biology. Wow,
okay.
I mean, I wouldn't do that, but wow, good for you.
That's a lot, although I do know with further maths, people do take that as a 4th subject a lot, and maths will help with further maths, so I'd definitely go for that. That sounds like a good mixture of things.
Yeah, definitely. Jay says, is maths hard at A level? What would you say, Jade?
Yes it is. It's quite difficult. I just think that what you would normally get marks for at GCSE, for example, being able to factorise something or expand some brackets, at A level, those are all assumed knowledge. So if you can't do those, then you can't do maths at all at A level, because everything you're doing is building upon the assumption that you were able to do 100% of the maths course at GCSE. And they did warn us of that before we took maths A level, and I didn't listen. And so now I'm paying the consequences. But it's not easy. But I guess, again, it depends on the kind of person you are and if you have a maths brain.
Were you in one of the top sets, Jade, or not?
I was. I was top set maths, and so that's why I chose it.
Yeah.
And I was under the impression that because I was top set and I was getting top grades, that A level would be easy for me, and I didn't expect it to be such a jump. I think the jump in maths has been the biggest out of all 3 subjects. In fact, I'd say the jump in physics has been the smallest, despite it being a really difficult subject.
Yeah. How is RS A level different to GCSE? I'd definitely say, because at GCSE it's more like, this is a view, write about it and write about whether you agree with it or not at the end. And now it's very much like, this is an ethical theory, insert these philosophers somehow, and it's very, very complicated, like, language. What would you say, Jade?
Yeah, I'd say there's so many definitions of words that you're going to be using that you have to get used to using those words. Like words that I hadn't even heard of before doing the A level that just become part of your language. And so I'd say you have to speak like a philosopher and be able to argue against yourself and argue against everything. And there's not just using different AO1 knowledge, as we call it, which is just the actual subject, but being able to assess it all, and that's a massive part of the exam.
Yes, definitely. What A-levels would you recommend for someone who wants to go into acting? Well, this is going to sound very biased of me, but I actually did want to, like Jade, I did want to be an actor for a good... When at the beginning of year 12, I was like, oh, I'm going to go into acting. When I was picking my A-levels, I sort of did it on the basis that I might be an actress, but definitely drama. You need drama. I got told RS because you can sort of like think about things from different perspectives, and then psychology because you can like see how people behave, and like that can help when like building characters and stuff. And those are all my A levels, so that's going to sound really biased, but what do you think, Jade?
No, 100%. I think all 3 of those subjects would be perfect to take because you need to be able to see life from other people's perspectives. And so, I don't know what other subjects would be good. Maybe music. I'm not really sure. It depends what kind of style of acting. English, English definitely.
Because you do plays in English, so that's quite similar. I very nearly did English, but I didn't. But yeah. Also it like in psychology, it's very much like you hear in like theatre companies when people go out and they actually experience how someone's like a character they're playing, experience the environment they would have been in, what their life would have been like. So it's very much like getting a understanding of how people might behave in psychology and RS. Ella says, I do photography, English language, psychology and media. That sounds very interesting. Yeah. Jay says, I chose geography, maths, business and design and technology. Will that be too much work at A level?
I think the answer is you'll just have to find out, really, and if it is, it's not the end of the world. You can drop one, or you can just speak to whatever tutors and teachers you have and see what the best option is, but just go for it at the start, see where it takes you.
I mean, it's all well and good us saying, oh, it might be a bit too much, oh no, you don't think it is, but really you've got to see what works for you, and what works for you will be different to what works for someone else. But those sound like good options. TW wants some advice on English. He says, hi, in my poem on how war affected people, I compared war photographer to emigre based on how sunlight can help solve their problems. Do you think that will get a lot of marks from that? Well, I'm not very good at English, to be completely honest, but you sound quite confident in your response, so like in your answer, so definitely think, You've got to be confident with what you've done. Mads says, I had DT and business today. Business went really well, but DT was very difficult. I'd actually be quite curious to see how DT GCSE was, because I was never very good at DT. I think I got advised not to do it as an A-level. But yeah, that would be quite weird. I wonder what you'd do. Alex says, can you change your subjects for A-levels on results day in August? Yes, because that is what I did. So definitely can. Cryptic God 11 says, what unis are you going to? Jade, what uni are you planning on?
Okay, well, if I do manage to get the grades, I'm aiming for 3 Bs at the moment. If I do get that, then I will be going to the University of Surrey.
Oh, nice.
And which is in a lovely place. It's near Guildford, and the campus was just amazing. I'm really excited about it, and I hope I go there. But if not, then my insurance choice is Bath Spa, which again was a beautiful university. But I am still deciding on whether, if I don't get the grades, I might decide to defer for a year. There's so many different options. But Surrey is my number one at the moment.
Yeah, what would you be studying?
I'd be studying sociology and criminology. So it's a joint course, which means instead of doing one of the subjects with its compulsory modules and then my chosen modules, instead I'll do both of the subjects, but only have to do the compulsory of both of them. So it kind of comes out to the same amount of grades and the same amount of exams, but I just get to do 2 different things.
That's awesome. I would really have liked to have done sociology A-level if we'd have had the option. But
I would have definitely taken sociology if I knew what it was.
Yeah, same. Well, for me, obviously I'm a year behind Jade, but I definitely want to do social work at uni, but you never know, I might change my mind in a year's time. But at the moment I'm looking at possibly Winchester, so yeah, but obviously I've got a lot of time.
Yeah.
Would you recommend doing an EPQ? Well, Jade has done an EPQ, so...
Yes, I did an EPQ. Actually, this is quite relevant because I recently had a look at my grades. I 100% would suggest doing an EPQ. And the great thing about EPQ is that, one, you can expand your knowledge on any subject area at all. It could be from writing an essay on how to bake a cake and actually baking one, to writing your essay about, I don't know, mechanical engineering. It can be absolutely anything. And I did mine on Alcatraz, and regardless of whatever grade I come out with, it was a great thing to do over the summer between year 12 and year 13. And yeah, it just helped me with being able to reference things and source things, and some quite valuable skills that I'll take to university with me.
Yeah, definitely. You might not know this, but when we were talking about it when I was last with you on here, you've actually convinced me to do one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. Because the thing is, even if you do decide you're going to do one and then in the end actually just drop it because you've got too much on your plate, you can 100% do that. So I'd just say aim to do one, and if it doesn't work out, who cares?
Yeah. Because I got advised not to do it by a few teachers because they were like, oh, it's going to be too stressful. But when you said you can literally just do it over the summer and get it over with.
Just do it in summer. You have so much time. And I whacked it out in like a week because I finally found a subject I loved. And so if you want to write about anything at all, don't even worry about the grade you're going to get. It's just a great extra thing to put on your CV, and just to even talk about in an interview. They'll say, what did you do it about? And then you can go off on one about what you did your EPQ about.
Definitely. Jay says, just in the middle of my GCSEs, I'm a bit worried about the fact that I chose maths for A-level, and I'm thinking of changing it to psychology. Do you think it will be less stressful? Well, again, that's up for you. That's for you to find out. What would you think doing maths, Jade? Because obviously I do psychology, so...
I think if your initial decision was to do maths, and if you think actually that's what you wanted to do, stick with it. And you can test it out. Have the thought of maybe changing to psychology in the back of your mind, maybe even when you start your lessons for maths. speak to whatever teachers you have, maybe your head of year if you've got one, and just say, I've come into this thinking that I might change maths, I'm going to see where it goes, and just like, so you can kind of just test it out. I wouldn't change now if maths was what you initially wanted to do, and I don't want to put you off maths. Like, I'm sure it's great for a lot of people, and I know loads of people at my school who love it and are amazing at it. It's just personally not for me. So.
Yeah, I mean, you could just do both, I guess. I mean, you get 3 options or 4 maybe. So if you really want to do both, then maybe think about your other subjects. And like Jade said, definitely take your gut feeling. Yeah.
So if you do maths, no one's going to stop you from sitting in on a psychology lesson.
Exactly.
I'm sure if you were interested and wanted to see what they were like, you could sit in on one, and if you decided you preferred the lesson, then have a chat to whoever you need to speak to, and they can arrange things for you.
Exactly. So the girl that asked us about what A-levels would be good to be an actress said, do you think English language is a good option for drama as you look at transcripts apparently? Well, the reason I nearly did English language is because you do, in our English language course anyway, you do a section on drama. So they link very nicely as well, I've heard. What would you say, Jade?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that sounds perfect, to be honest. If you really want to do acting, you're going to be looking at scripts all the time, so English sounds great.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people are saying they had DT today and that was quite hard. Yeah. What text did we do for English at GCSE?
I did Romeo and Juliet and Of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
Those were 2.
Were they both exam texts or did you have coursework?
They were both exam texts. We didn't have any coursework based on a book, but all of our poetry was coursework. We didn't have any exam on poetry. So.
See, that's completely different to me. We had an Inspector Calls coursework, Romeo and Juliet coursework, and then we had comparing 2 like extracts from a book. That was part of our English language coursework, so that was half of that. And then we did creative writing, that was half of our coursework. And then I had 1 exam text was Of Mice and Men, and then obviously we did poetry in the exam.
Oh, okay. That's very different. I guess I was the last one on that specification.
Yeah, I think you were,
Yeah.
That's cool. Any tips for English literature A-level exam paper 2? Honestly, the first paper was quite challenging. If you can help Pavanji in the comments, then definitely do that. Emily says, I do further maths at GCSE and I was wondering, is A-level maths a big step up? So you did say before you think it is. Jane.
I think it is. However, if you're doing further maths at GCSE, then I think there may be some overlap. There was someone in my class at GCSE who was just so good that she would get A-level papers just to try, just for the fun of it, you know, and she's really excelled in A-level maths. So I think don't let my personal story put you off.
Yeah, definitely. Do what's right for you at the end of the day. This is for you, Jade. It's Fire Shot says, what is maths and physics like at A-level?
So this is interesting actually, because when I first started physics in AS in year 12, I found the first term really easy. We started with waves and it was a lot of GCSE overlap. So I really enjoyed it. And then the course got progressively harder and I started deciding that I hated physics. I hated it so much. But now that I've come through the A-level and I've done 2/3 of the exams that I'll be doing, it's actually, physics isn't as hard as maths and I've ended up really enjoying it, and so physics is great. And then I have spoken about maths a lot, but I think maths and physics go together really well, and to anyone who wants to do physics, I'd suggest doing maths as well. It really helps.
Yeah, definitely. Heidi says, I love maths A-level because it's skill-based. It feels like a fun revision break from a huge amount of content in other subjects. Yeah, That's very interesting. Would you say that, because obviously you do RS, which is very content heavy, would you say that maths is quite...
At GCSE, definitely. I thought maths was great. I could get through a past paper in the space of less than an hour.
Great.
I would race through them, and once you got to grips with it, I guess you could call it a little bit fun. I don't know. But at A level, RS is obviously, because the exams are just complete essays, 3 40-mark essays in, I think it's 2 hours. I think actually RS is a lot easier to just bash out the notes, have a look at them the night before, just do it, whereas maths takes a lot more effort and a lot more motivation to be able to learn how to do everything, and I don't think you can ever be able to expect what kind of questions will come up, whereas with GCSE you knew, oh, here's a circle question, I've got 3 theorems that I've learned for this, whereas if a circle question came up at A level, you'd be stuck. You'd have to apply knowledge from loads of different areas, and so I think maths takes a lot more revision than RS for me.
Yeah. Jade, did you do GCSE history? Because there's a lot of people asking about tips for history. I didn't do history, so...
Oh, history was absolutely amazing, and the only reason I didn't take it for A level was because I was taking RS, and I knew that RS was the subject that I favoured over the 2 of them. I think, so my best tip for history was to get the biggest piece of paper that you can find. I think I used A3. It was an A3 bit of paper. For each different subject, I think you'll probably have 4 different aspects. A lot of people do American history. We did medicine, Germany, Russia. Can't remember what the other one was. And I made just timelines of all the events that happened, wrote out all the years, and because it's such a big bit of paper, you can write all of the details underneath, find some buzzwords. So, for example, if you were doing Germany, you could find words like Reichstag, and then make a mind map of just that word and lots of different links that you can make. So then when you're in the exam, all you have to do is think of that one word, and then you'll have loads of different bits of knowledge flooding back to you that you associated with it.
Yeah, that's some really good advice. Mick Potter says, are GCSEs really that important, or is it A level what counts?
GCSEs are important. I think people don't give them the credit that they deserve. I don't know if that's the right saying, but basically they will internally and kind of mentally sway you towards whatever subject you do for A level, and you might not even know that it happens. It will be subconscious. And so I think GCSEs are more important just for you individually, and to give you a confidence boost to go into the next step of education. And actually they will be looked at. The university will look at it. I actually had an interview for Bath Spa, and obviously my A-level grades have gone down considerably compared to GCSE. I was like an A-star student at GCSE, and now I'm looking at B's and C's. But the man who was interviewing me said that they had looked at my GCSE history, not history subject, but the history of my GCSEs, and said, we think that you are capable of doing really well, and maybe your projected grades in A-level don't represent the ability that you clearly had at GCSE, and so that's why they offered me a place.
Oh, wow.
And so for little things like that, definitely GCSEs matter. Obviously A-levels matter more if you're going into university, but they will look at them, definitely.
Yeah, I'd also say that, to be honest, I think that GCSEs might matter a bit more than A-levels. Well, it sort of depends on what sort of person you are, because if you're a person that you don't really want to go to uni, then your A-levels, they're good to have, but GCSEs are what is going to get you a job in the future. For example, if you want to be like, A-levels are good, but if you have your GCSEs, those are the things that if you don't want to go to uni, if you don't want to do your A-levels, you can still get a job with GCSEs. But if you don't do your A-levels, you can still get a job if you don't do your A-levels. But if you don't do GCSEs, then it's like you're a bit stuck because you can't progress onto A levels. So yeah, no, I definitely say that GCSEs are really important, but A levels definitely do count as well. And I mean, like Jade said, they do still look at your GCSEs, and but yeah, obviously A levels are very, very important for the next step in your life as well. And Mick again asks, can I ask about English language? What do I have to do to get a good grade?
Well, for a start, Mick is asking some brilliant questions.
Yes, definitely.
I was actually speaking to my sister about her English language exam today, kind of the tips that she should use. And something that Mrs. Corey said on one of the past live streams, so if you are wondering about English, check that out later.
Great.
That is on our channel. But she said about if you're unsure on how to spell a word, spell it out how you think it is, underline it. So this is kind of for the big question at the end mainly. Underline the word that you're unsure about, and it's better to try and use more interesting language than language that's safe and instead of saying it's good, say, it was amazing. I mean, that's not a great example. And if you weren't, for example, sure on how to spell the word amazing, it's better to try and use that word, spell it slightly wrong, come back to it at the end and be able to see that you've underlined it and have an extra think about it. Because once that big question is written, while you're still in your exam, you immediately feel more relaxed because it's done, you can go back and check. Whereas before, if you're trying to write it really quickly and you're getting stuck on this word, the essay isn't completely written yet, so you're going to be in a bit of a fluster, and just take it easy. Just make a mental note to yourself, come back to it later, you'll be so much more relaxed. And yeah, that was the tip that I gave her this morning. So
yeah, definitely. I'd also say a thing for me about when you're actually going into the English exam is, or even when you're revising, I found highlighters literally saved my life at GCSE.
Yeah.
I highlighted in the question, I highlighted the key bits, so I never misunderstood a question. I highlighted all over the text, but don't excessively highlight over your poems or your text, because that will just confuse you. But make sure you're highlighting the key information. That I definitely recommend highlighters. And also I learned quotes, but I spoke them and I voice recorded them. So like when I was going to school or on the bus or something, I could just listen to it before my exam or before I went to sleep, which I found was really helpful. But it also depends on what sort of learner you are. So if you're like an auditory learner, then that voice memo technique would be great for you, because that's how you can absorb your information. But yeah, definitely Google like what sort of learner you think you are, do a quiz or something, because that will really help when it comes to revision. Yeah, Mick, you're asking some really great questions. Mick again says, what's better to get, history or geography?
I just because of my GCSEs, I'm on the side of history, but obviously it's up to anyone.
It's up to you, and it's what subject you prefer at the end of the day. And even if you like them both equally, it's what maybe you want to do more in the future. But I didn't do either, and same with Jade. I'm more on the history side, because I was really going to do history up until like a few weeks before we had to decide. Because I was doing RS and I got told that because I'm not the best essay writer, I got told that maybe I needed to pick. But in hindsight, I wouldn't have done drama if I'd have done history. And history is from what I've heard from people that did GCSE history, it's quite hard. So I was quite glad for me personally that I did pick drama. So get your last final questions in, because we're going to have to wrap up soon. Michael says, how do you deal with GCSE stress?
Okay, that's a good question. I think everyone experiences the exam stress, especially in GCSEs. It will probably be the first time you've taken external exams. And so the best piece of advice I could give you is just to relax when you're at home. Don't turn your bedroom or wherever you revise into a revision place, because you want your room and your house to be somewhere that you can also relax. And so don't keep coming back from an exam or school and going straight to your desk. Give yourself some time, have a drink, something to eat, and just try and live your life as you normally would.
Exactly.
But instead of watching those long episodes of something, or instead of watching a film, that's when you should do your revision, instead of trying to mould your whole life around revision, because school really shouldn't be everything that you're focused. I mean, obviously you need to focus on it a lot, but don't dedicate everything on your life to it, because honestly you need to stay true to what you enjoy and not to stress yourself out so much, because it's not the end of the world, and grades are just grades. So
I mean, everyone says that, and at the time you think, oh no, they are the end of the world, but they really aren't, and you get to see that once you're through it. I definitely say, seeing as you guys have a week off for half term, definitely don't just think, oh, I've got a week now, I can just relax, I can chill. Don't treat it like that. Definitely get some me time. Do go out with your friends a bit, but like definitely get on that revision grind, and definitely make sure that you're make sure that you're gonna do it. And so thank you, Jade, for joining me, and thank you everyone for watching. It's been great to have you've had some really great comments this evening. So see you next time. Thank